On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're taking you to the bucolic town of Washington, Connecticut, where we'll meet interior designer Jennifer Hunter, who brought her signature blend of timeless elegance and playful charm to her own family's home. This elegant Greek Revival residence was a true labor of love that she realized from the ground up, with Jennifer guiding every detail from the architectural framework to decor. For Jennifer, the project was both deeply personal and professionally transformative. The result is a stunning space that reflects more than a decade of vision, one that balances refined architectural details with bold color, whimsical pattern play, and a sense of lived-in warmth.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Jennifer. Welcome to my home in Washington, Connecticut. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Jennifer Hunter. I'm an interior designer, and we are in my country home in Washington, Connecticut. I would say this home is modeled after a Greek Revival home. However, it is for a young family. I have two young girls, and I would say it's a fresh take on that. So there are some more modern conveniences. However, I did try to keep the front of house pretty formal and true to its style, but once you enter through the kitchen and the family room, it opens up, it's light and bright, and it feels like a more relaxed country home. Being a traditional designer and also an architect, it was so important to me to really pay homage to the area and the history here. So I actually drove around and studied period doors, hardware, moldings, all of the architecture around me, and that is what drove this home. I also could not find the correct hardware I was looking for, so I actually went to S.A. Baxter and created hardware for this home that was inspired by George Washington, and it was a pin that he wore in battle, and that's what inspired the hardware. I would say while this home is really modeled after a period home, I wanted to create it for modern living. There's somewhat of an open floor plan in this space because I really wanted the kitchen and family room to feel like one big space. However, there are other spaces that feel more closed off to the home. But I would say while the main entrance feels very traditional, most people enter through the mudroom, which is a much more casual space. And that's really where guests, close family and friends enter, and they kick their shoes off and they run down the breezeway into this family room. And I love how light and airy it feels. I wanted the double height lofted ceiling here. My husband and I fell in love with Washington, Connecticut over 12 years ago when we came here and stayed at the Mayflower for one of our first trips together. And it's really where the dream started. And we knew eventually that we wanted to raise a family here and really have this as our happy place. So when the time finally came where we could do this, we looked and looked for homes and nothing felt right. And because I have the building genes in me, I decided to hunt for the perfect piece of property. And fast forward 5 years, here we are. It was really a true labor of love. I dreamt it, designed it, built it with local vendors, and this was such a dream come true for me. Welcome to my entry. I absolutely love this wallpaper. It's my favorite wallpaper in the whole world. It is an archived wallpaper by Albert Hadley, who I had the privilege of interning for, and I custom colored it in a Pharaoh and Ball color. And I would say that clients and followers love this wallpaper as well, and I have used it in many projects since. I love this piece. This is a cherished find, and it was the perfect table that is petite enough for this little space. The bench here is also cherished, that I had reupholstered in a remnant leather. It happened to be laying around at my upholsterer's shop, and I thought the watermelon leather was the perfect pop in this space. The stair runner was something that I saw at Temple Studio, and I wanted to reimagine it in a different colorway. If you look closely, there's some threads of pink in here. And again, I love how the pink just ties everything together. I'm not a gardener, so my florals live on my wall. And I met the collage artist Denise Fiedler of Paste, and she helped me imagine this garden. So to speak, everything is collaged and hand cut by Denise. She is such a talent, and this immediately went viral. And so Denise and I decided to re-release this collection as prints, and now everyone can have a piece of my garden. I also love this lamp by Christopher Spitzmiller. It's always a dream of mine to own a piece of his beautiful work. It is called the Albert lamp, again named after Albert Hadley, so it only made sense that it lived in my Albert Hadley wallpaper space. And then I wanted to do something fun with this shade, and so Denise, who did the collage garden, beautifully hand painted more florals on the lampshade just to give it that extra punch. This grandfather clock was also a fun, cherished find. I knew I needed something tall and narrow for this space, and I think a grandfather clock was the perfect solution here. Welcome to my living room. This is one of my favorite spaces in the home. I decided to color drench this room in an eggplant color in full gloss, and while it is a dark color, the room does feel light and bright still, especially during the day, and then it changes throughout the day, and by the time night comes in, it is a super cozy spot. I wanted to keep the palette in here really minimal, so bringing back in more purple tones and then contrasting it with fun pops of green. I fell in love with this African beaded mirror and knew that it would be perfect in this space, especially with the purple florals. It is not only a mirror, but it's a beautiful work of art. I have always wanted to do a chartreuse sofa. Not only is this chartreuse, but it is tufted and mohair, and it is such a fun pop against the eggplant walls. People can just come in, cozy up, and relax. This is a really special book to me. I actually found it at the Mayflower. They have an antique book collection there that you can purchase. And every time I go in, I look at the books, and this one happened to be a Parrish Hadley book, which is very close to my heart. It's not in print anymore. And so when I saw it, I knew I immediately had to have it. And now it lives open, and I am able to study and admire the work of someone that I admire so much. So this painting behind me is by a dear friend, Kate Westall, and it is actually a landscape, an abstract landscape, and it lived in my New York City apartment, and it didn't quite work there, and I knew that the colors would be so great in this space and that it would have a new home here. I wanted to have multiple seating areas in this room so that when guests came, they could cozy up by the fire, they could have a separate conversation over on the sofa, they could be playing a board game or mahjong at the game table. I designed a pair of custom settees, and again, this was a fabric by Botanical Trading that I was in love with. However, I wanted this very specific colorway, and they were wonderful to work with and designed this custom colorway along with me. This table is from First Dibs, and I know I said I don't love black, but this was just the most beautiful ebonized table, and it really felt like it belonged here. My most favorite piece in the whole home is this George Washington portrait, which again is by Denise of Paste, and it is a hand-cut collage. I bought this piece before there was even a hole in the ground. It was the first thing I bought, and I knew that it was gonna go over the living room mantle. The mantle is a piece that I designed after looking at historical mantles. I would say I get my design inspiration from old archived magazines, everything from old British magazines to country magazines, but I think really the time period is like 80s, 90s, and I have a whole collection that I love flipping through. I would actually say that the color palette was not my first natural inclination. I love the idea of color drenching this room in a deep purple, and then it kind of sat there for a while, and this was the last room in the home I designed. And I wanted to go bold. The dark purple high gloss walls are very traditional, but as this is my own home and I love a fresh take on traditional, I was like, why not mix it up with bright pops of green chartreuse, and then it kind of just evolved from there. But I did, again, want to keep it pretty simple with just those two main colors. This game table was something that I found on Cherish, and my family and I use it all the time. We have had many Monopoly games here. It's really a place that we come and sit on Sunday morning with our coffee and our favorite board game. I was kind of born into interior design. My grandfather was a builder, and so I used to follow him around on job sites my whole life, and he was really my inspiration. So I went to school for architecture, did internships in New York City. I had the privilege of interning for Albert Hadley, who really was my mentor and encouraged me to pursue interior design. And so I got my master's at Sotheby's in fine and decorative arts. And then I worked for Harry Heisman, who was a designer under Albert Hadley. And then he gave me the courage to launch my own firm, Jennifer Hunter Design, in 2018. And I primarily do residential design. I work all over the country. I do a lot of work in Texas, Florida, the tri-state area, and of course, New York City. I primarily work with young families who are buying their first home. And so I like to keep things traditional but fresh. Welcome to my kitchen. I really wanted this space to feel light and airy and a respite from the colorful entry and living room. As you can see, I kept it pretty neutral and tonal in here. There's a lot of white and rattan and natural elements, from the reclaimed beams to the fire clay brick backsplash. I love how you can really see the imperfections here and the hands and the glazing. I decided to do honed marble countertops. Again, I love the patina. I love how, you know, in the bright light, you can see some of the etching and watermarks. It just builds and adds character to the space. Again, these unlacquered brass, the faucet, the hardware, it all adds that warmth and texture and character to the home. While there isn't much color in here, I did decide to go with this British Racing Green La Conche range. People make fun of me because I really don't cook. However, this is jewelry to me, and it was important to have a beautiful range. I wanted to use these oversized large pendants. They're from Visual Comfort, and I kind of love the juxtaposition. They're a little bit industrial, a little bulky, but I thought they were a great fit with the reclaimed beams, the tile brick backsplash, and some of the other natural materials and elements in the space. I love this little moment over here. This is my prep station. Yes, I know I don't really cook. It's a place that I can style with all of my beautiful plates and accessories. and it really brings so much joy and happiness to me. I would say in a kitchen, don't be afraid to use a mix of materials to bring in some warmth and character. Also, as you can see, I put art in my kitchen, just leaned up against the backsplash. There's nothing that should be too precious. It just really adds more of that personality and those touches. Building this home from the ground up was huge for my career. It was, although I'm very involved in the construction process with my clients, this was the first time I was very involved in the nitty-gritty, all the details from, getting water from a well, all of the infrastructure, blasting through ledge, every little detail. And so I think this is what gave me the confidence to pursue this for clients. What's really cool about this is that I really took my followers along for the ride and documented every part of the process. It even encouraged some of my clients to go out of their comfort zone when they saw that I color drenched my living room in purple. All of a sudden I was getting requests for color drenched living rooms. When they saw certain fabrics and different textiles, it encouraged them. Same with materials, I took a few risks. I worked with new vendors, I experimented with new materials. I really used this project as such a learning experience, as well as I was the guinea pig for myself. And so it did give me confidence to also replicate some of these ideas and materials in my own projects. This is my breakfast area and family room. It is an extension from my kitchen. I love that it feels so open so that when the girls are sitting here doing art or eating breakfast and I am in the kitchen making coffee, we're all together enjoying the space. I wanted it to feel like an extension of the kitchen, and so I love this farm table mixed with the painted Windsor chairs. The chairs really add a fun pop of color to the space. I wanted to show you all my plate wall. This was modeled after Gwyneth Paltrow's home. It is such a great way to add color while also displaying your plates. I have collections here from Christopher Spitz Miller to things I found at the flea market, to other plates that have been passed down to me. And what I love about it is it's ever changing. Anytime you come to my home or see photos of it on Instagram, there are new finds in here that I'm constantly rotating out. My favorite plate right now is this charger by Christopher Spitz Miller. I just love the sunflower. It's a little unlike what he usually does, and it was something he was experimenting with, and I actually saw it on his Instagram, DM'd him, told him I had to have it, and they ended up at my doorstep. This piece of art I had commissioned by Jennifer Holfelder, and I love her style. We use her a lot in our projects, but I didn't own a piece for myself, and I wanted it to really be representative of the country, the different farms around us, and so I took a few photos, sent them her way, and this is what she came up with, and I think it just works so perfectly in the space. Moving into the family room, I love how this room feels like a breath of fresh air, especially with the vaulted ceilings. If you can see, I decided to paint the ceilings this beautiful hue of a soft green to just reflect some of that light in. I decided to keep the palette in here pretty muted. As you can see, the real only pattern in here is this beautiful Jasper Dahlia print, but the colors are very muted, so I wanted to bring in some of those pale blues, the natural tones in the wood, the sofa, and the rug. This sofa is upholstered in a natural washed linen, and I know that most people would be nervous because it is not performance, and my kids jump all over it and wear it, but you know what? I love being able to see those imperfections, and the more character, the better. A home is meant to be used, meant to be lived in. This is such a big open space, and I wanted to bring in some more detail and millwork, so I added shiplap to the fireplace to add more character and a sense of depth. I also clad the surround in brick, which again, is just a natural material and felt really right in the space. I had these large windows flanking the fireplace, and I knew I wanted to dress them with something, especially to bring down the height of the ceilings. And so this blue fabric by Jasper was one of those fabrics that I had always wanted to use, and I knew it would be great in this space. I love how it dresses this window along with this console table and the lamp. It kind of creates this beautiful little vignette. I think the memory, since this is a newer home, is really the process in building this home. I remember walking through at every stage when it was just a hole in the ground, bringing the girls here at that point when they couldn't even understand what was being built, to when the framing went up. We actually had a dance party here with the girls in this exact room where I'm sitting. And I look back on that video often, and it was just such joy. It was our first family moment in the house that wasn't quite the house it is today. Welcome to my dining room. This wallpaper is a mural that was inspired by the Mayflower, which is a hotel just down the street. I was in love with their garden room, and so I commissioned the artist to reimagine it for myself, and we picked out all the placement of the butterflies and the different bugs you see, and I have a few hidden little bugs in the space. We call my daughter Elle Ladybug, so you'll see a ladybug, and then my daughter Hadley Honeybee, so there's a honeybee somewhere in here if you can spot it. These chairs I found off the rack at a big retail store. You would never know it because I reupholstered them in a really fun Indian block print. And then to make this room feel more casual and country-esque, I actually ordered denim off of Etsy at the recommendation of my mentor, Harry Heisman. And I ordered many yards of denim and had for like $3 a yard, and had the front reupholstered in this fun denim. This etagere has a really fun story. I actually found it 10 years ago at a local store, Privet House. It was a display piece that was not for sale, and I fell in love with it. It really reminded me of something that Mr. Hadley would pick. And every time I came into the store, I asked if it was for sale. They said no. And fast forward a few years, I was so persistent, and I said to the shop owner, okay, I'm not gonna ask you, I promise. And she said, ask me. And I said, is it for sale? And she said, it's your lucky day. I will sell it to you because we are going to change the display. And it was such a dream come true. I knew it was gonna live in this room and be used for display of my collection of china and flea market finds. I would say my favorite place in the home is the formal entry. Every guest that comes through is always like, wow, this is just the most joyful space, and it's so you, which I think is the greatest compliment when someone doesn't just say, wow, this is a pretty house, but it's so you, it's so personal. And that's what I really want everyone to feel when they walk in the home. If I had to describe my home in 3 adjectives, I'd say joyful, peaceful, and comfortable. Welcome to my pantry. I love how I have all my display on this side, and then this is really the snack closet. I didn't want it to feel like your typical snack pantry, so I created these really fun baskets after an English pantry that I saw. And so all my snacks are hidden in these beautiful baskets, and then I'm still able to display some of my fun collections. When I designed this pantry, I wanted all my linens to have a home. So I created all these drawers, and inside, as you can see, is my collection of textiles and linens. Next up, I'm gonna show you the mudroom. This space is great because it hides all of our outdoors things, our hats, coats in here, fun cushions so that the girls can put on their shoes. And then over here, I created this peg board. So all of these pegs are in here. It holds shoes, it holds hats and bags, and it's really a great place to just hang something up so it doesn't sit on the floor. I knew I wanted to color drench this space too because it's off of this beautiful breezeway and off of the kitchen, which again is so light and bright, and so infusing more color as you're walking through the space was a great balance. A misconception about interior design is that it's inaccessible, when really there's so many resources and so many designers out there that are accessible. One of my favorite places to shop is a flea market, a tag sale, an estate sale, or a place like Cherish. I found so many incredible pieces in this home from all of those places. Welcome to the primary bedroom. I love that this space feels slightly masculine. It wasn't what I imagined it to be, but I really love how it turned out. This wallpaper is a raffia, and it's reminiscent of my living room growing up, along with the trim color. I felt like it was this perfect green that kind of made the whole room pop. Again, you can see the crown molding. It's different, it's interesting, it adds really a special detail to the space. The headboard fabric is a jasper fabric that has been on my wish list forever. And as the room started coming together, it really just had its calling here. I kept everything else in the palette pretty simple and serene since it is a bedroom. I always wanted a collection of botanical prints, but I couldn't seem to find the right ones. And so I enlisted Denise again to help me imagine the botanical prints that you see here. Again, they became so popular on my Instagram that we released them as prints, and I love seeing them from followers and also placing them in projects. As you can see, we have fun molding in here too, and that's something that I did in all the bedrooms just to add a special detail to the upper floor. I think it's pretty funny that this room has become known as the picnic basket. For some reason, the color palette, the natural materials just really invoke that freshness and picnic vibe. Welcome to my primary bath. This is such a retreat. I feel like I'm in a spa every time I'm in here. As you can see, I wanted to pay homage to country living, and so I created a custom buffalo check out of marble. And this was another one of those fun instances where I really got to experiment with materials and pattern, come up with something that's really fresh. This vanity is really special. I wanted to bring in more nature and natural elements, so I did a pickled cerused wood here, and you can see all the graining, and it really turned out so beautifully. Welcome to Hadley's room. This is such a fun, cheerful space. I think the wallpaper adds that touch of old world country, but with the pop of the butter yellow, it brings a freshness to the space. These antique beds I found at auction, and I was up all night on live auctioneers bidding way too much for them, but I was determined to get them because I knew they would be such a special addition to the space. I knew I wanted to use this iconic Schumacher rose print on the walls. It adds that perfect country vibe. I have two daughters, Hadley and Elle. This is Hadley's space, and we have two twin beds in here because my girls do love to sleep together, or if we have guests, it allows for that versatility. If you notice, there's a really fun crown molding on the ceiling from Fleur Home. It adds such a little touch of whimsy to the space. These prints over the beds are by Mary McGuire, and as I mentioned, we call Hadley Honeybee, so it's just a little homage to her. This is the Jill and Jill, and it connects the two girls' bedrooms. I love the pink and green color palette. It's soft and is really just such a sweet space. I designed the floor tile layout myself. I wanted to incorporate more pink and green and their abstract rosettes. My tile layer was not too happy, so I actually helped lay this tile myself. This beautiful Kohler freestanding tub reminds me of a vintage tub The girls love to take bubble baths and splash around here, and it's a focal point in the room. This is Elle's room, and this is such a joyful, colorful palette. It really makes me smile on hers as well. I have mixed in new, old. This is a vintage textile that really adds that country feel in here. This is a chair with fabric from my friend Alice Sargent. And again, kind of this unconventional color palette that seems to just work in here. It's the more color, the better. This is such a sweet bunny print by Mary McGuire. I love that it's in this oval antique frame and sits so nicely over the bed. Elle really helped me design this space. It's her vision. She wanted blue wallpaper, and again, I wanted it to feel vibrant and really representative of her personality. And so Farrow and Ball helped me come up with the perfect wallpaper that suits the space. Elle's nightstands were a cherished find, and I love that it's not the perfect bedside table. It's a little beat up, the color's not so perfect, but somehow it just really works in the space. My design hot take is that everything needs to be stain guarded, bulletproof, kid-proof, pet-proof, and I always tell my clients that a home is meant to be lived in, enjoyed, comfortable, and that if something gets a little banged up or a ding in it, it just adds character, and it's meant to be that way. A color that you will never see in my homes is gray and black. I love color, I love joyful, fun colors, pattern plays, and so as you walk through the home, you will see a lot of that, but you will not see gray or black. Design advice that I wish I knew when I started out is that you really need to educate yourself on every little thing. You can't rely on anyone else, especially builders, contractors. You need to know every little aspect and every detail that goes into a home. We knew that we wanted to entertain here and have family and friends, and so it was important for us to build a space that was private but also connected to the home, and that is where the guest house dubbed the tree house is, and it's over the garage separated by the breezeway, and so our guests feel like they're on their own little retreat up in a hideaway. Right now we're over the garage, so it's separated from the main house, and this is our guest house, also known as the tree house. This is the guest bath, and one of my favorite features in here are the H tiles on the floor. I wanted to bring in something fun, and of course the H is for our last name, Hunter. And now you're in the tree house. This is removed from the main house, and we wanted our guests to feel like they are in a tree house, that it's private, that it's peaceful, and really its own space. The suite itself has its own kitchenette, which is great so that guests in the morning don't have to come to the main kitchen in their pajamas. They have everything they need here, from a coffee machine, a sink, and a hidden mini fridge. They can enjoy breakfast and coffee here. We always have fresh pastries in the house, and so we bring them up here, and this is a nice place they can look out at the view and enjoy their breakfast. The treehouse got its name from the vaulted ceilings as well as the tree wrapped wallpaper that we really wrapped the entire space. This is a very well-known Sandberg Raphael print. However, I reimagined it in a fun colorway. I went to the brand and asked if I could do something on a light blue ground, and they actually added it to their collection, so you can shop it at Sandberg. I wanted the bed to be wood to really bring out the trees in the wallpaper, and it adds that natural element that is just so serene and so peaceful. I chose a wood bed for the space to bring out the trees in the wallpaper. I created these little nooks since we had the dormer windows. I thought, why not add a place to sit and read a book? And then we had this storage space for guest suitcases, but my daughters quickly took it over, and it's now this little hideaway back here where we added a light, a bench, and even handles for them to get in and out. Funny enough, we had a couple staying here and we hadn't heard a peep from them all morning, and it was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, finally they came down and they said they had never slept this late in their lives. And so I think it's a testament to the space and how calming and soothing it is. Since I'm a city girl, I'm not a huge gardener, so I have my mini garden, my version of a garden, which is on the plant stand, and that is really my little labor of love, thanks to a local gardener, Becca's Gardens. She's helped me curate the perfect plant stand, which I feel like everyone who follows me always asks about it. It's ever changing, and it is as much of a garden as I can handle. So this is the front of the house. This is the mudroom entrance, and this is where I have my famed plant stand. I am always changing it up depending on the season, and with the help of my friend Rebecca from Becca's Gardens, she has really helped me curate the perfect plant stand. We had to do a lot of landscaping work since we bought just a piece of land. So when we got the land, it was dirt, there were some trees we had to take down, but we really wanted to feel like the home's always been here. I wanted to bring in some English garden inspiration. So we have these hedges, we have the hydrangea, our plant stands. I love the gravel drive. I love the way gravel feels underfoot. This is really where guests come in and they can park here in front of the house. We wanted guests to feel welcome and that they could come right in, and so this is what we designed. I really wanted the house to feel like it's been here forever, and as I drove around getting historical knowledge of the town, I saw that most homes were painted a creamy white with hunter green shutters, and so I did a lot of research to get that perfect hunter green shutter. The architecture of the home was inspired by a Greek revival home, as you can see in the columns here and also along the breezeway. This is the covered porch, and this is where we come out in the early evenings to enjoy a glass of wine and some snacks and just look out at the beautiful landscape. When designing the home, I always wanted a space that was outdoors that I can enjoy with my family. This is a place that we gather when guests come over, enjoy a nice glass of wine and some snacks. This is our outdoor dining area, and during the summer we eat a lot of meals out here with friends and family. I wanted you to feel like you were in nature and really able to enjoy the beauty around us. We really love dining out here because it feels like we're in this oasis. It's such a great escape from our normal city living, and we're able to really just do a big exhale when we get out here. We get to listen to the sounds of nature and just be surrounded by beauty. To me, home means family. I love gathering here with my family. I love hearing my kids running, laughing, giggling, echoing throughout the house. It just really brings me so much joy and peace.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.